This is Big Tasty Sports. Welcome to week 3 of the Best Bets show. The first 2 weeks have been a lot of fun, starting to get in the groove with some of these cappers. I'm excited for this week. We got a great guest. Last week we did not have one, but back on track with a guest capper for week 3 as well. Looks like a good board. We've seen a lot of line movement. So things are getting interesting and exciting. Before we jump into the picks with the different cappers, wanted to give you a little bit of an update on how things have gone through 2 weeks. So each week I ask people to rate their picks with confidence, 3 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Also, people have to give me 1 plus money pick each week. The confidence level 3 picks are going well, 11 and 5 on those. Confidence level 2 going okay at 5 and 4. It's that confidence level 1, most of those being plus money, that have been the biggest struggle so far. Only 1 and 4. Maybe that's why they're confidence level 1, that they just aren't going to come through quite as much. But we're going to try to turn that around and pump all these up. The plus money picks overall are 3 and 7. The first week was rough, a little bit better this last week. So we'll see moving forward if we can start identifying some really good plus money spots and increase that. Obviously, when there's plus money, even if you can go 500, you're going to be making money. Also, in terms of the cappers who are on the show right now, Kevin is the best through 2 weeks at 5 and 1. And I am keeping track with those plus money picks too, of if you put a unit on each pick, where would you be at? He'd be up a little over 4 units, plus 4.05. And Yanni with the Bet Crushers, 4 and 2, 2 units up. D and I are both kind of right in the middle, both at 3 and 3. I hit my plus money pick this last week, so up 0.18 units. D is down 0.1, but right there, right around even. And then Phil had a good first week, a rough week last week, so 2 and 4 overall, minus 2.05 units. So if you followed all the plays from the show, you'd be up 4.08 units at this point, and we're just getting started. So hopefully each week we can move that even better, but there's been a lot of good information, a lot of good picks on the show so far. Last thing I'll say, kind of say it every week, but really would appreciate you, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. What do you think? What are the picks you like, don't like? Subscribe, give it a like. That helps a ton. If you're listening to the podcast, review the show. Give that a positive review wherever you're listening to your podcasts, and I will be forever grateful. With that said, and also, I do have the black hat on today. I know if you're on the podcast, you can't see that, but it's a little bit of a week of mourning after the Vikings went and got curb stomped by the Eagles in Philadelphia. We'll see if we can get a bounce back. I know this isn't a Vikings podcast, but you're going to get a little bit of that with me hosting it. So we take the black Vikings hat into week number 3 of NFL Best Bets. Well, it's that moment that you all wait for each week, where we welcome in Yanni from the Bet Crushers. What's going on tonight, Yanni?
Hey, man, messing around with some technology here, trying to get a new ring light and microphone, make it look a little better. So we're waiting on some materials, but working on it.
I'm telling you right now, if you are listening to the podcast, you might want to hit pause and go watch the YouTube video, because Yanni has a serious backdrop going on tonight. It is professional. Although, this honestly is just your backdrop matching the breakdowns and stuff you do, which are so professional and well done, right? So the backdrop just matches now.
Well, I would say it matches in the sense that it's half professional, half sloppy. That kind of describes me in general. So whatever.
Hey, the football side is the professional side, at least. So
I guess.
Yeah. Well, man, hey, before we jump into the picks, just curious, I know you start looking at these lines super early on, as we all have started to do. How are you feeling about the board? It's Tuesday now, Tuesday night when we're recording this. How are you feeling about the board for this week in general?
I like this board a lot better than week 2. I will say it's interesting. These lines are jumping around. I mean, we're seeing quite a bit of movement on the totals. And I really think that these books are trying to stay a step ahead from a lot of the people that are early betting. Of course, obviously limits are, it varies book to book at this point, but I like the board overall. I think there's some nice matchups on the card.
Yeah, I like it too. And you're right about the line movement, man. It makes it more interesting too, because you really don't. I mean, I woke up today and went to look at the lines and was like, I wonder what happened while I was sleeping. You know, it makes it a little more exciting. So
Yep.
it's kind of fun. All right, man. Well, hey, you're coming off on this show anyway, another 2-1 week. I know you have more picks than that on the website and other places, but that's 2-1 weeks in a row. So you're stacking up the wins, man. Heading into week 3.
Came close both weeks on the plus money play.
Yep.
Fell just a little bit short on both of them. So, so far pretty pleased overall with how the handicapping's going, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Absolutely. I have little doubt that you will. The only question is the sweep or not, but I think it's probably coming. So, all right. Well, which pick do you want to start off with this week?
All right, I'm going to start off, and I'll just say right off the bat that I've got some what most people would say square plays for this week. I'm laying some points on the road, but I feel, strangely confident despite the fact that that's not a sustainable winning formula usually in the NFL. But, if you pick your spots, I think you can do it. So I'm going to start with the Baltimore Ravens at the New England Patriots. This is one that I had called out a week ago. And surprisingly, I think because the Patriots, won their game. The Ravens, of course, blew that big lead to Miami. So the line didn't really move. It's been kind of sitting at that Baltimore -3. I figured this number would go to more of a -4, which is why I wanted to get in early at the key number of 3 there. Ended up staying right around where it is. It still could move a little bit here before the week goes, but I'm going to lay the points on the road here. I think this is a big mismatch in this game. First of all, when you kind of look at it and you say, okay, one of these teams is going to be 2-1 at the end of this game. The other is going to be 1-2.
Wow.
Who do you like when you look at these teams? And again, it's the NFL, anything can happen, but I really think Baltimore, we've seen Lamar Jackson and Baltimore really put it on the Patriots. Even we saw him do that when Tom Brady was there. So, now they're going in, and Mac Jones, of course, is not Tom Brady. And when you look at some of those, that never should have happened, the loss that they had a week ago. I mean, how you let a guy like Tyreek Hill, blow by in the secondary. I mean, especially when you have a lead, those things shouldn't happen. I think, first of all, they'll get some of that cleaned up. And secondly, when you're trying to defend Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, it's not quite the same challenge as it is Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So, I like Baltimore here. I think they're going to be able to, get some points on the board offensively, do better defensively. I think they win this game. I think they win by, closer to a touchdown to 10 points. So I'll lay the -3 here. I feel pretty good about it. If you wanted me to do your 1 to 3 scale, I would go as high a confidence on that as you can.
A 4. A 4 on a scale of 1 to 3.
There you go.
This pick I enjoy because I was traveling for work this last week, and I'm standing in line. They're going through the boarding groups, and I think I was group 6, and they're on like group 2. And I started getting messages from, we were going back and forth with D and Yanni and stuff about lines. And he's like, get that Baltimore -3 right now. So I'm like opening my laptop to get on Bet Online before I get on the plane. So I like it too. And there hasn't been a lot of line movement, but like when you pointed that out, I got it at +100. Now it's -110. So still a good deal, though it's moved a little bit in terms of the juice,
Right.
I wonder too, like I wonder your thoughts on this. I've seen some people, and even a couple people that I would consider relatively sharp in the last couple of weeks, picking their spots where they'll take like a Baltimore -3, but also look at an alt total where if they think Baltimore is going to win by, 2 touchdowns plus, they'll also put a little bit on like a Baltimore -9.5 or -13.5. Do you ever consider doing any of that kind of stuff, or is that sort of out of what you like to do?
Yeah, generally not. I mean, I'm a little more straightforward, but in certain cases, I might sprinkle a little bit there, or if it's a case where I think that, like you said, there's an opportunity for them to roll. Maybe the only reason I would be hesitant in this case is, first of all, it's on the road. And New England's defense has played, I think, a little better than maybe I expected them to. Now, granted, we'll see if that continues here. But I think that with that, I'm just going to lay the 3. And I like that because it kind of, gives you that, to me at least, gives me that confidence that, hey, if they can get this done, worst case, we're pushing here, right? If it's a field goal game. So I like the 3 here, and I'll probably stick with that.
Yeah, no, I like it too. I mean, doing too much of that stuff ends up losing you half the money you won, right? So if you're going to do it, you got to be super careful.
Right.
But so before we move on, the point I really like that you made, because one of the things I've wondered about in this game is how beat up the Ravens defense is, and in particular their secondary. But what you just said about the fact that they held Miami's offense down for 3 quarters and, had some breakdowns in the fourth, but the offense they're facing this week is not anything like what they faced last week when they had 3 strong quarters. So I think that's a great point. Gives me a little more confidence in their defense as well against the Patriots. So, all right. Well, let's pick one. What do you got up next?
So same thing, another ugly square play here, but we talked about this one before, but I'm going to take the 49ers -1.5 at Denver. And, this opened up with the Niners getting 2 points, and we talked about it on the look ahead and said, hey, I think people are going to see Jimmy G as I see, which is a step up from Trey Lance, at least, in the short term here. And I think that's what happened. I think people are looking at that and seeing that. But I'll tell you what I like in this here. I mean, first of all, Denver's obviously still trying to figure it out, and that goes for everything. That goes for coaching, trying to piece kind of that offense with Russell Wilson together. And I still think they're a good football team, and I think this is going to be a good game. And I still think Denver has a chance to be a playoff team this year. But I don't like them in this matchup, and here's why. San Francisco so far has been absolutely stout stopping the run. Denver's kind of built that way, even though they have Russell Wilson. They do have some capable receivers with Sutton and Judy there. But I think that if they can slow that run down, I think it's going to be tough for Denver to score. Now, it could be tough for San Francisco to score as well. You could look at some unders, things like that. But again, I think Jimmy G gives them enough. I think they're hopeful that George Kittle comes back this week. Deebo Samuel hasn't really gotten rolling yet. I think, he's kind of one of those guys that at any time can just kind of go off. So I think in this one, it's probably going to be a close game. I think it's probably going to be low scoring. I think you could say those lines are probably fairly accurate there. But I think San Francisco comes away with a win here, even though they're going to a rough environment. I just kind of look at how Denver's playing versus how San Francisco with Jimmy G is playing. I feel like that team's just got a lot more confidence with Jimmy G. There's a lot more stability there. They're going to get the ball to their playmakers more, not rely on Lance. And again, to me, it comes down to that San Francisco defense, which has looked really good up to this point. So I'll lay the points again on the road. Call it square, whatever you want. But I think with such a line, even though it opened and, you could say you lost CLV at +2 to -1.5, whatever, I don't care. It's still under the key number 3.
Absolutely. And I just looked it up too. I'm trying to pick off these lines as we record. And right now there's a -1 at -107 out there. So we can even take that hook off
there you
of the 1.5. So, and I do think, you've mentioned this a couple times in terms of the square bets or whatever. I think the difference is, in my experience anyway, when I started doing this, I absolutely would be like, oh, I just think this team is better and not really consider anything. But you get deeper into it and you realize, like, if every road dog won, then people would just bet that every time, right?
Exactly.
Like, there are spots where the road favorites are going to win. And so you have to be able to go deeper. Even if it seems square, sometimes it's right. So
absolutely.
Yeah. What do you feel about confidence on that one, man?
A little shakier on that one, just because I think Denver's a little better team than New England is on that one. But I still feel pretty good if you're doing your 1, 2, 3 scale. I'd give it a 2. I feel pretty good about it.
Awesome. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense to me. I think Denver can come around as the season goes on, but they're definitely struggling out of the gate here to get anything going, especially offensively. So going against a good defense is a tough spot. So, All right. Well, it's that time for you to pick off the plus money pick that's going to win this week. So where are we going?
All right, I think I got it, and I hope I got it. So first of all, there's actually several options, I think, this week for some plus money picks. I think there are some home dogs. There's some dogs that you could look at on the money line that I think are live. There's definitely some teaser options out there. There's quite a few teams that are kind of at that -7 range. So I think you could potentially do some things to work yourself into plus money. But I'll tell you what I like here, and I like it a fair amount for a plus money bet. And in fairness, it's only plus 105. So it's not like it's a major upset. But I like on DraftKings, you can get an alt over total on my Buffalo Bills at 30.5. At plus 105. So I think in this game, there's a couple things. Number one, when you look at this matchup, there's a few things that stick out to me. Number one, Josh Allen has absolutely massacred the Dolphins his entire career. I mean, he has put up some of his best numbers against them. Their offense is healthy. Gabe Davis should be back at receiver. At least they say they think he should be back. So I think they're healthy. Their defense is a little banged up. So it's possible that this could get into a little bit of a shootout even, depending on how it goes. But when you kind of look at that they're going in, weather's not going to be a factor. If anything, it'll be hot. So I think defenses will get tired. I think that favors the offense down there. But I think when you look at this, at this point, that offense has shown no signs of slowing down at all. I mean, honestly, and basically they've punted one time in the last 4 games with their starting unit on the field. And, you kind of look at that and it's like, they're in a groove right now. And at some point that'll probably, you hit a dry spell, something happens, whatever. But at this point, I think that they have a good game plan. Ken Dorsey's doing a nice job calling plays there. I think they can attack in different ways. They're creative with what they do. And, you go back, they have even the games where they have not crossed that 30-point threshold, they were in the mid to high 20s, and it was usually because they had an early lead and just kind of sat on it in the second half. So I really like them here if we're looking plus money. I think they can get to 31. I feel like they end up in the mid 30s in this game. I'll use that as my plus money play.
Man, how much fun has it been as a Bills fan to watch them just absolutely destroy people these first 2 weeks?
It's almost hard to believe when it's funny because my kiddo will watch with me and he's really only followed football for the last 2 or 3 years. So the Bills, of course, have been good. And, he just expects them to be good and he doesn't understand. I spent 2 decades just basically staring in amazement at how awful they were on the TV. So it's fun to watch them do that. I mean, I'm not going to get too high just because it's a long season, an injury to a quarterback, things like that. And the whole thing can get out of the sails there, but it is a lot of fun. And again, I think that, they offer some nice betting angles. You talk about those alt lines, they're at, I think, -5.5 roughly right now. Their last 20 wins have all been by double digits. So
That's
when
crazy.
they win, when they win, they're blowing people out. So if you like the Bills here at -5.5, you might as well try a 9.5 alt line at that point, or, at least bump up to 6.5 and get a few points there, whatever. But I think, again, to your point, you can pick those spots with some of those alternate plays if you want to do that. And when you start looking at a trend like that, it's like, man, this isn't 3 or 4 games they won by 10 plus points. This is 20 games in a row. I mean, when they're winning big.
Man, that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, where at some point, like a 20-game sample is enough to say there's something going on here, so I like that. My other thought real quick on Buffalo was just, you talked about how they can get ahead and maybe, pump the brakes a little bit, just coast, but I would assume watching what Miami did in the fourth quarter against Baltimore, they'd be a little wary to do that in a game like this with an offense like this as well. So that's another thing that I like pointing out.
Yeah, you've got that. I mean, that's going to be fresh in their mind. Hey, even if we get up 21 points, we can't let up. And I think it's just different when you go back to a couple years ago when they would kind of let up. They weren't a proven or confident team there. They were building confidence and kind of getting there. But I think at this point, they're there like, who cares? We're going to go out and sling the ball around. Even if something bad happens and we throw a pick, we're good enough to overcome that anyway. So I think that there's a little bit of that. It reminds me a little bit of the St. Louis Rams and the Greatest Show on Turf teams, in the sense that those guys, I mean, they were like, fumble, whatever, challenge this. If we lose our timeout, who cares? Like, they didn't care because they knew, like, if we need to, we'll get this thing together and score some points and make some plays. So it's a little bit of that vibe. So to your point there, I think that if they do get up, I don't think they're going to slow down maybe like they would have a couple seasons ago, which is why, again, I think, until a defense, and keep in mind, I'm not saying that the Rams or the Titans are the top two defenses in the league, but they're capable defenses, right? I mean, they're not bad. And I mean, they absolutely shredded them. So I think when you start looking at that and you say, okay, Miami's defense is probably in that range, maybe a little better than Tennessee, a little better than the Rams. But I mean, they're not an elite. They're not a top 2 or 3 defense out there. So again, until somebody really proves to me that they can kind of just put the clamps down, we'll see. I think you're going to see a lot of Josh Allen running in this game. It's a divisional game. They're both 2-0. And really what you see with Allen is when the chips are down, he'll put his body on the line. He'll do what he needs to do. I think in this game, you're going to see that early. And, again, I think they could potentially get up. And to me, 30.5 seems very, very, very doable.
Man, I love it. I like you going a little deeper and pulling out a team total here too. That's fun.
Yeah, gotta find. I mean, like I said, there are a lot of good home dogs. There are a lot of teaser options that you could do, like a 3-team teaser to get the plus money. But I just, when I saw that, I mean, that's a lot of points. I mean, when you're saying over 30.5, sure. But I think it's all relative. And again, when you look at the matchup, you look at how a team's playing, I'll take my chances with that for plus money. I think it's I think when you break that down, the percentages of that happening outweigh, you're definitely in the plus as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. I love it. Well, hey man, thanks for joining. Everyone, make sure you go follow at Yanni_bet. And then online, check out betcrushers.com, where Yanni and JJ post not just football, baseball, NASCAR, all kinds of stuff to get you ready to bet all the stuff you want to bet. So make sure you go check those things out. And thanks for hopping on, man. Looking forward to some good bets this week.
Appreciate it as always. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, you too. All right, talk to you later, man.
Take care.
Next up, we got a special guest for the week. This is a guy that I've known for, I don't know, maybe a year or a little more now. Really phenomenal guy. We'll stay up front. When you are on Twitter, you want to find the people who are willing to be honest and transparent and just generally decent people, not assholes. And this guy fits in that category. So welcome in Potts Picks to the show. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate that intro too.
Absolutely. Well, I mean it, man. Absolutely. It's always great to get to talk to you. You know what you're talking about, and you're a nice guy. It's a good combo. So
no, man, it's been a while for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, before we jump into the picks here, you're a huge Chiefs fan. And so just after a couple weeks, would love to get your reaction to, are the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, my futures ticket, I'm hoping so, but,
Nice.
But man, I don't know. I mean, I think that, I think this team is very balanced just in terms of offense and defense, and they have a lot of really, really young guys, especially on defense. I think we're starting like 2 or 3 rookies in the secondary. And I mean, they've got a ton of talent, a ton of speed, which, I think is what you need in the NFL, right? And if they can put it together defensively, if they can have a top 15 to 12 defense, I think the offense is going to be fine. I'm not overly concerned with that. I think that they're going to score 24 to 27 points about every week, as long as, number 15 is back there and Andy Reid's on the sideline. So if they can do that, I'm pretty confident that if the defense can hold them to 20, 24 points a week, I think they're going to have a shot to win a lot of games. I don't think their division is as strong as everyone thinks it is. I think the Chargers are for real. The other two, I said before, right? I'm not quite sure, right? I think they have the talent, but I don't know coaching wise if they can match up with Andy Reid. Yeah. So, the amount of money I have not won off of Denver not handing the ball to Javonte Williams is sickening. But we'll leave that for another story. Right? But yeah, man, I think the Chiefs. I think they've got a shot, right? I think it's Buffalo's tough, but I mean. Like I said, especially if they can get a home playoff game or the AFC Championship game again, I like our chances. So
yeah,
we'll
man.
See.
I like what you said about those young guys too, and to have a team that is likely to improve as the season goes along. And certainly when you have Patrick Mahomes back there, like you said, your offense is going to be fine. So we'll see how that defense continues to gel and come together. But yeah, it's going to be exciting between them and the Bills, most likely. So
yep. Yeah, I would agree.
All right, man. Well, hey, let's get down to business here. We talked about this 3 picks, 1 plus money. So what do you want to start off with this week?
I mean, I guess I'll just start going down the list, right?
Yeah, give me your first one.
Yeah, the first one that I like, and I don't know if I would, it's probably right in the middle of confidence level, right? When I say, but it's going to be the plus money pick, and I would say probably get it now because I think it's going to not be plus money for very long. It's already starting to move some. Is Green Bay. I just think I know that there's some question marks about the wide receiver group, but exactly what we just talked about with Kansas City and their young guys growing. I think Watson and Dobbs are extremely talented. They were 2 of my favorite receivers coming out. And you pair them with Aaron Rodgers, the more reps they're going to get, I just think the more dangerous they're going to get. And I think that defense is extremely underrated in terms of the way that they can gel later in the season. Tampa has a ton of injuries on the offensive line. Mike Evans is out. Their wide receiver core is banged up. I think they might call you and I.
They might.
They are thin at that position. And so, their defense is extremely talented, Tampa's. But AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones are just absolute monsters. And I think they're going to be able to wear on them and do some play action, later in the game and bust it open. And I think Green Bay at plus money with those guys out on Tampa or banged up, I think to me, it just makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if they're -2 or -3 by Sunday.
Wow.
So I would try and grab it now, but I think that it stacks up perfect for them.
Yeah, I like that call, man. I haven't bet anything on this game yet. I've been looking at that plus 2.5 on Green Bay, wondering if it'll move. But we can't go back to this forever. But another thing, in addition to what you said, that I like on this pick is if Watson catches that ball against Minnesota and goes to the house, that game is at least closer, right? I mean, as a Minnesota fan, I'd like to think we still find a way to win it. But regardless, that game's way closer. And I think this line is probably different. People thought way lower of Green Bay because of that first game. And they just, got off to a bad start and couldn't quite put it together, I think. So makes a lot of sense.
I would agree. And I think that they're not getting the respect because they beat Chicago, right? A lot of people don't think Chicago very good. So right now they beat a team that they should have. And lost to a team that a lot of people thought they should have, right? So I think that, if this game is in 4 weeks, I think the line is probably different. So I just think there's value there, right? You give me Aaron Rodgers plus money, I'll take it more times than not. So
never bad to go with a quarterback you can trust.
Even against Tom Brady, right? I still think I like it. So
I like it. Awesome, man. All right. So number 1 is Green Bay. I looked, and right now you can get plus 115. Since we record these earlier, I'm trying to say what the lines are when we're recording them because, like you said, they can move. So, So what's pick number 2 for you?
I think pick number 2 is one that I like because I think there's I'm very high on this team even after last week. But Baltimore -3 against New England. Especially the way that they lost last week, right? They had that game won, and they just it was ugly, right? And credit to Miami, right? But I think that Baltimore is a team that if they can get healthy, they are right there. I think talent-wise, especially on defense, they have a bunch of young guys, right? Hamilton, and some of those guys that are going to get playing time now, and that's going to bode well for them later in the year. But I mean, Lamar has played. He played great last week. I think a little bit better. And honestly, I'm not sure where New England is going to score, right? They just don't. I feel bad for Mac Jones because they just have 0 weapons. Like, they're not great on the outside, and that's where you can attack Baltimore. They don't have a Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, right? Or anyone remotely close to him. So
Jacoby Myers doesn't do it for you?
He's solid, right? But if you give me Tyreek Hill or those guys, I'll take them all day long. No, I think Jacoby's really good, but I mean, But who else do they have, right, that really scares you? I don't know. And I think Baltimore will be able to get pressure on Mac, and they'll have to throw those underneath passes, and that takes away the injuries they have in the secondary to a certain extent, where they just have to rally and get to them. So I think Baltimore. I think Rashad Bateman, is really, really good on the outside. And some of those other guys, and Mark Andrews is extremely tough, right? He's one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in football. So I think offensively, I think it'll be close early, and then I think Baltimore will probably pull away and win by 7 to 8 points. So
awesome. I like it. In terms of your confidence on this, 1 being not so confident, 3 super confident. How do you feel about that one?
I'm taking that one as a 3.
Okay.
I mean,
real confident on that one.
Yeah, I just think that they have too many weapons, in terms of offensively and defensively, right, to make plays. So
yeah, I think we've seen from the Patriots that they're gonna struggle to move the ball and put points up most of the year, probably. So
yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the last pick for you. What are you going with?
So the last one, I went back and forth between a couple, and I'll give you the other 2 here in a minute too. But it's a bit of a homer pick, but I'm going to take the Chiefs minus. I have them at 6.5. If you can't score on Jacksonville at all, right, and you struggle against the Texans, I'm not sure, even as good as their defense can be, how they're going to stay within 10 to 14 points of the Chiefs, right? Like Kansas City showed me a lot last week, being able to run the ball, and the willingness to run it, right, I think is half the battle. And when you look at their run block rate, it's one of the best, in the NFL. And I think if they play the 2 high safety, Kansas City will just dink and dunk, and still, they're extremely efficient in the red zone this year. So I just don't see. I know there's a potential that they can come out and they're going to try and get Taylor the ball and all that stuff. But again, who on the outside really scares you, right? I think that Kansas City will take their shot. Some of those wide receivers them and not let Taylor beat them. And I just don't see this game being extremely close. I think that they could pull away at the end. And I think this number will be a lot higher again by Sunday, right? I think I have it at 6.5 right now. So
yeah, this is one where I wish I had gotten in on it before last week's games, when it was still, minus 3.5 or something. I think it was at one point. Yeah. So definitely Kansas City feels one of those one of those teams that can just blow people away, unless things bounce right for the other team, which can happen at times, right? I mean,
it can, yeah.
It's NFL, so that's the way it goes. But yeah, they've definitely got the firepower to put people away if they're not going to score. They definitely can't put up 0 like they did against Jacksonville and stay within a touchdown.
Right, yeah. Well, see, and I think it goes back to that point, right? Like, I know Kansas City will be missing Willie Gay, which is, I think, bigger than people want to say on the defensive side. But they have enough, again, young talent, I think, and just bodies to throw at them. And like we said earlier, I think Kansas City is going to score 24 to 27 points. Do we think that, Indy's going to be able to score 20 to 24? I don't know, right? I don't think so. So, and even if they do, the Chiefs could score 40. So
they could.
It's one of those things. So that's where I'm going with it. The 2 other ones I liked were the Giants money line. I know it's a little chalky, and I know Dallas played well last week, but I think the Giants are a lot more talented than people are probably giving them credit for. Unfortunately, but I don't think they're that bad. I think that they've got some talent and some young guys, and I think the biggest thing is they're not coached by Joe Judge and Jason Garrett. So I think that is 10 points right there for them. And then the other one that I like is Thursday night. I like the Steelers. Now that line's moved a little bit. It was +5, and I think it's 4.5 on FanDuel before I got on here.
Okay.
I think that defense is really good, and I know it's going to be, I just don't trust Cleveland, right? I just don't. Yeah. I think that, again, it goes back to the coaching piece, and, I think Trubisky will just do enough to not mess it up to where they stay in it, right? And
That's
I think
what he
he's
has
been
to do.
okay. Like a couple of the balls, like he had one that was almost a pick, or I think pick last week, and it hit the wide receiver right in the hand and bounced off, right? Like he made a great play and they just didn't catch it. So I think there's going to be a lot of running in that game probably, so the under might be a look, but if you're going to give me plus 5 points with that defense, even without TJ Watt, I'll take it, right? I think they're a good enough team to keep it close, right? So
yeah, well, I'm these aren't I bet these a while ago, so it's not for the show, but I am on that under before it moves. So, but I agree with you on the under in that game. And I'm actually on the other side, but I got Cleveland at -3 at like 4.5 or 5. I would probably stay away, but -3
I don't hate. I think it's probably right at that 3 to 4, right? So if you can get it at like that 5,
it's a close game.
That's yeah. I mean, they kept it close with Mason Rudolph, right? And I don't think he's better than Mitchell Trubisky, right? Like a couple of years ago. So like if they've proven they can go 500 with him. And another one I looked at, but I haven't bet it yet because I'm not sure I have the guts to, is I think it was the Detroit game, and I think it was the under. I think it was like 53
and a half now, I think. If it stayed up there, it went up there for a bit.
Let me look. It
53 and a half still.
Yep. Yeah. So I looked at that one, and I don't know why, but I like the under in that. 53 and a half is a lot of points, and I could see, that happening. So another one that I kind of looked at, but it's
yeah.
Anytime, I don't know if I have the guts to take it.
Anytime you get up over 52, I feel like you at least got to look at it. So that's another one where I actually did take the over, but I took it at 50 and a half. So again, once it gets up over 52, then you start to wonder about the other way, So
and that was kind of my thought process. Is I haven't looked a ton into it, but when I looked at it, I was like, that seems like a lot, right? And because I could see Minnesota's defense coming out and playing really well, and then winning 30-10 or 24-14 type of game, or both defenses just suck like they have the last couple weeks. And, like last week, and it could be 70, right? I don't know, but
50-44.
Yeah, but I'm like, well, both teams quite a bit, right? Or use their running game. So, I think Minnesota's defense is last night. I don't think is a fair representation because of all the turnovers, right? Which I think their defense is pretty good. But when you're on the field the whole game and giving them short fields, there's nothing you can really do, right? The fact they only gave up 24 points was surprising.
Yeah. Well, I could go on about that game for a long time, and that's why I'm wearing my black Vikings hat today. We can't go with
Hey, I had the over in that game last night. So Cousins, I was like, man, this is looking great. And then Cousins, I was like, how many times are they going to turn it over?
First half, it was looking good, and then it just went down the drain. So Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Always really love to talk to you. Before we wrap up, just share with people the best ways for them to connect with you and kind of what you got going on these days.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm on Twitter probably more than anything. I'm on Instagram also, but more than anything on Twitter. Try and be as active as possible. But, just, on there, try and give out free plays as much as possible. We do a lot of our stuff through Dub Club. So it texts like our plays and all that stuff. And I think it's all free right now it's just easier if people do that. But I'm on Twitter. So if anyone wants to give me a hard time about my Chiefs or, any of that stuff, I'm a Missouri fan. So fair game at that too, because we're terrible. I'm always on there. Love to interact and do stuff like this. So
awesome, man. So it's at Potts Picks on Twitter, and that'll be in the description for the show too. So if you want to follow them and can't remember what we both just said, then you can go read the description and find it there. So awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, and I'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Hopefully, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Kevin Himes is back. Kevin, another good week in week 2, going 2-1. You did promise us you wouldn't sweep every week, and so that did come to fruition. But still 5-1 through 2 weeks, man. It's going well.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Those Dolphins have been good to me.
Yeah, they have. I'll be interested to hear what you think about the Dolphins this week. A little bit of a step up in competition.
Tough matchup this week. I don't know if I can play them this week.
Yeah, it is pretty tough. You doing all right today, man?
Yeah, doing pretty good.
All right, awesome. Well, I know you got a baseball practice to get to here soon, so let's dive into these picks. Yeah, man. What are you going with first this week?
All right. So week 3 is I always like to find those undervalued 0-2 teams, and we'll start with one. I think you're frozen right now. Okay, but we'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals -4.5.
All right.
So they played horrible. I'm not gonna lie. It's mostly the offensive line. They gotta fix it, And for me, it's as simple as they're a much better team, and this is a must-win game. I mean, you can't start 0-3. The Jets are all the way up here after that game, coming back on the Browns. They're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. Shouldn't have won the game. Browns gave it to them. But I think these two teams are kind of in different states of mind. The Bengals got to get down serious, and they need it. And Barrow called out his coach. Chase called him out. It's on him. Yep. Everyone knows what they're doing. They're better than that. So
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, man. I heard. I think it was Collins from the offensive line was talking this week, and he was definitely taking responsibility, but also, and I mean, people have to say nice stuff, but he was saying too, they're learning how to play together and felt pretty confident that it would come around, So we'll see.
Right.
I mean, you got to think it can't really get worse on the offensive line.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
It's got to get a little better.
That's what everyone said in the offseason was like, all right, they weren't good last year. They still made it to the Super Bowl, but this year they straightened it up. But it's just as bad. So it doesn't really make sense when that, they got to be better than last year.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But,
all right. Well, I like it. What
confidence on that? We'll go 2.
2 on that. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
I love how you're remembering the confidence right off the bat. So
confidence.
Yeah. What are you going with for pick number 2, man?
Let's see. I got a couple games. I'm just kind of up in the air, but I want to go with. Let me get to. I just want to see if this number is available now.
Sure, man. I've got bet stamp up too to check if.
Yeah, I saw Bet Chris had the Rams -3, -125. I just don't know. Do you see that?
Let me see. I mean, everything that's up on here is
everything's 3.5.
Yeah. Although at -125, that might be legit because -3 is -105. 3.5 is -105.
Let's go with another game now.
All right.
Go with the Atlanta Falcons +2.5 against the Seahawks.
Okay.
I like how they played the first 2 games. I mean, they're another 0-2 team that they kind of came. They had no chance of beating the Rams, but I like the way they fought. They were outgunned in that one. But they could have beaten the Saints, they played good both games. London's coming on strong, and they got good young guys. I mean, Patterson's an X factor. Pitts hasn't gotten going yet. I kind of expect him. If they can get him and London going at the same time. And then, Adams is out for them. I don't really like their defense anyway. And if you look at what they allowed to running backs receiving-wise last year out of the backfield, they were the worst team in the league. So I look Patterson to have a big day out of the backfield. I mean, I think Javonte Williams had like 11 catches against them week 1.
Yeah.
Last week, I took a prop over for Wilson last week that hit, but he didn't do too much. But he's not really a receiving back. Patterson's a receiver turn running back. So
absolutely.
So I don't think Atlanta's as bad as people think, and I think they're a little bit better.
Yeah. It was interesting today. I was just looking at some futures, and Atlanta still had the shortest odds to have the worst record in the league, which was pretty shocking to me, because I'm with you. I definitely think they're better than at least 2 or 3 teams in the league right now. So
I think the Bears, the Seahawks,
the
I think they're
Seahawks,
better.
right, that they're playing this week.
Maybe the Texans too. Like that's.
Yeah.
I think they might. And I honestly thought they were going to be the worst at the beginning of the year. But the more I looked into it, I didn't think that anymore.
Yeah, they've been playing decent. I'll since a couple others have gone, a couple of us are actually on Atlanta as our plus money pick this week too. So there's definitely a few of us going that direction.
That was going to be my plus money. If I was going to get the Rams 3, that was going to be my plus money.
Okay, I got you. Nice.
That's exactly what.
Nice.
Now I got to audible and then and come up with that. So plus money pick. Let's go. Do I go the Dolphins now?
Dolphins money line, right?
I should do that. I should now, but I'm not going to do that.
Oh man, dude! If you did that, you'd never be able to not bet the Dolphins again.
I know, right?
If they won 3 weeks in a row for you after that comeback, too.
Let's go Patriots.
All right.
At home. Even though, I think the Ravens are better than the Patriots by a decent amount. But I think this is a spot. I think this is a spot where New England comes out and does what they need to do against them. I just don't think – I think with Belichick and them only really having a couple things they can do on offense, he's going to be able to shut that down. And I think – I honestly, I like +3 better, obviously, but right. I think they could win this game outright. I'm looking +145. I think that's good.
+132. Where do you have +145?
5 dimes.
Oh, okay. I don't have 5 dimes, so I don't see that. So
5 dimes looks +145. But you can mark it +130, whatever, 135.
No, that's good, man. I need to add that to my list of books probably. So, if you wanted to too, not that you need to, but you could go at Atlanta money line and take the 3 with New England if you wanted to, depending on your confidence.
I think I would rather do that.
Okay. The way you were talking about it, I kind of wondered.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was like the last second audible.
Totally.
I think I'd rather 3. And I did just see, I didn't read too much into it, but they said Lamar didn't practice throwing today, and he had a little something on, a sleeve on his arm.
Okay.
I just got that tweet.
Okay. Wow.
I haven't even played that game yet, but I think I'm gonna take the +3.
All right, man. I like it. Hey, on those last 2, what's your confidence for the?
We'll say, let's go 3 on the Falcons.
Okay.
And we'll go 2 on the Patriots.
2 on the Patriots. Right. I like it, man. You've been crushing so far, so we'll see if we can keep it going this week. And I got to try to catch up to you a little bit though, too. I'm 500 so far. So I got to come for you. I did take those Rams, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, man.
Well, hey, thanks for jumping on again and sharing the picks.
Anytime, man. Every week. Let's do this.
All right, we'll keep it going. Have a good night, man.
You too.
Okay, see ya. D Nice back on the stream today for week number 3 of Best Bets. How you feeling today?
Doing well. Tasty, what's going on? Bright and early here on a Wednesday morning. I kind of like this time slot that we have. I'm like, talking sports, then I transition into work, and then I 12 minutes later start thinking about sports again in our conversations, right?
Hey, at least you get 12 solid minutes thinking about work before sports comes back to your mind. That's pretty good.
From like 9 a.m. to 9:12 a.m. And it's like, okay.
Your most productive
makes sense
time
what I
of the
just
day.
said to Tasty. And do I want to fade my – no, I'm kidding.
All right, man. Well, let's just jump into the picks here, man. What are you thinking first for this week?
Should we talk for like 30 seconds about the Eagles and the Vikings real quick?
Dude,
like,
I told you we were going to talk about it.
anything.
I'm not trying to avoid it because the Vikings got annihilated. I wasn't shocked. You had to feel pretty good, especially that first half. Jalen Hurts just destroying fools. I mean, it was
like prime Michael Vick mixed with, I'm not going to say Tom Brady, but he looked really good. I expected a closer contest. I expected a little bit more out of Cousins. There's a lot said about Kirk Cousins in primetime. Sometimes I buy into it. I tried to like not focus on that too much. And I was like, he's looked better in recent years. He's got a new coach. He has some more weapons, and Kirk Cousins turned into primetime Kirk Cousins again. So I guess we just have to store that in our memory banks. Maybe it's a buy low spot on the Vikes, but we'll figure that out as time goes on here.
Yeah, well, I'm still narrowing down my final picks for my part, but I do think if you look at the way that Kirk Cousins performs and the Vikings perform, they tend to play pretty well at home. And when it's not on a Monday night, Kirk Cousins, we talked about this before, he's a serviceable quarterback who can get the ball to his weapons, and he looks like shit on Monday nights, you know? So,
for sure.
And the Eagles are a good team also. That's the other thing is we were all high on the Eagles, right? And I think their defense showed up better than they did against the Lions in that first game. I think they've got a great offense. So they're just a great team too.
Totally. It's hard to go into Philly outdoors. I think it was the coach's first time outdoors on the road there. Like, it's just a different dynamic. 8:30, you got crazy people drinking all day. It's loud. It's a different environment. And so I think it just kind of caught him off guard. And Kirk Cousins, I mean, he's played there before. He's won in that stadium, but I think it was just a bad spot, and the Eagles have a good team. So don't think either of those two teams made it into my top picks this week, but I'm sure we'll kick it around on one of our shows this week. I'm sure those team names will come up again.
For sure. Yeah. If anyone doesn't already listen, so D on the Wager Rager podcast puts that out on Thursdays usually. And with Yanni, JJ, and I get to be on there many times, and we kick around a lot of these games. So I'm sure we'll get into some of that more in depth on your podcast where we break those down. So congratulations though, man. Great win.
2-0. I'll take it. Still 15 games to go.
And the positive
pretty good
is
for our 1 seed bets. I've got Eagles 16-1
Exactly.
to get the 1 seed. I think you do also. So
Well,
it's
I
all
was
about
gonna
long
say-
term. I know at this point not to overreact or get too high or too low, but good start on to week 3, right?
That's right. And I was going to say, I have those 1 seed bets, division winner bets on the Eagles, and I bet the Eagles -2.5 with you. So I won my bet last week on that game, even though my team lost. So, you know.
Gotta love the emotional hedge.
The emotional hedge. That's right. Well, and also I just thought that the Eagles would win. So, all right, dude. Well, let's jump into the picks, man. What are you going to go with first this week?
It's a 3-pack of picks that they're going to be hold your nose, and it's like, just let these play out. I went 2-1 last week. Probably got a little bit lucky on that one. I'm avoiding the Colts again. I've taken 2 Colts overs, and we'll talk about that on shows. I'm not doing that. First pick, without further ado, hold your nose. Chargers team total under 27.5. And this is kind of thinking outside the box. I think I've learned through the years, I'm not a veteran in terms of betting, but I think I made enough mistakes in my 20s, and past 2 to 3 years, I think I've gotten smarter. I think that Herbert sits this week. If he doesn't sit, there's a chance you get 28.5, 29.5, but I don't think he's going to be full health. Like, I know he's not going to be full health. And I think that he's got some cracked ribs, right? Or cartilage.
It's cartilage. They said broken cartilage, which I don't know.
I've never heard of that,
works, but that's what they said. Yeah.
It's like, okay, I broke my ass. So then what does that mean? Like, does that mean cartilage, the bone? Like, is that, is that a bad bruise? But I do think he sits. If he doesn't sit, he's going to be banged up. Keenan Allen also banged up. They haven't gotten past 24 points this season so far, and they're playing, in my eyes, the best defense that they've seen so far. Jags, if you look at their numbers, I know last week they shut out the Colts. The Colts have like an early identity crisis again, but Jags, in terms of EPA per play so far this year, number 4 in the league, very high, solid pass rush. They were actually holding the Commanders in check until they had some hiccups late in week 1. I think that this is a top 10 to 12 defense, and Chargers not having the home field advantage too much. You got people injured. And they haven't necessarily closed games out. They looked good against the Raiders in week 1, didn't close that out, got to 24. So if you're giving me that hook at 27.5, sure, if they get to 27 and take this game 27-20, 27-24, I think it's more of like a 24-16 game, 18 if you want to go on like an odd score there. But I think that they get this done, and Chase Daniel's the backup. So, like, if you have Chase Daniel backing up, I definitely love this bet. So, got this at 27.5 last night.
Yeah, I like that. I think the Justin Herbert thing will be interesting. I was listening to another podcast. It was cool. They had a segment where they had a doctor on who does sports medicine stuff and looks at the impact of injuries. And he said that Herbert injury is usually about 2 weeks to recover. And they do have the long layoff from Thursday to Sunday. But I think it sounds sort of, 50-50. And to your point, even if he plays, it's unlikely he's going to be 100% recovered. Maybe they try to lean on the run game, short screens, that kind of stuff, and just be a little more methodical, even if he does play. So I like it. All right.
Hold your nose on that one, right? Because it's like probably a future MVP and you're fading that. But 27.5, I'll take it, because if you get to 27, you still have a winner. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's good with the hook too. You're right. That's a good number. All right. What are you going with second?
Also, hold your nose. It's going to be my underdog bet of the week. The plus money. It's going to be Falcons plus 108. I got them yesterday. I think you can still get a lot of plus 105s. So I think high level, I don't know what to make of a lot of teams in this league right now. And so for this week, I tried to just go on lines that I thought were either a little bit too high or too low, or teams that I'm pretty sure I know what category they're in. And Seattle, I think, is in a bottom 5 category. I think that the Falcons can be frisky. Did they get a bit of lucky at the end of that game last week? Maybe, but they hung in that game. They had a lead against the Saints. I know they blew it. But I think that Falcons are frisky. Seattle, they just don't do anything that well. I know they're at home. Their EPA per play, I was taking a look at it last night on defense. It's second worst. They're awful in coverage. They don't have Jamal Adams. He's out for the season now, right? He had their best coverage grade according to PFF in week 1. So you lose him. I know that Geno looked okay, but that was kind of like, I'm not going to call it Seattle's Super Bowl in week 1 against Denver, but they really wanted to beat Russ.
You can call it that.
And they came in, looked a little bit deflated. Maybe they'll get up again for this game, but I think they're one of the worst teams in this league. And Falcons, I think, are more of that middle of the pack, a little bit less. And they're frisky, and they still haven't gotten Kyle Pitts involved yet. I think they get Kyle Pitts involved. I mean, he's been pretty underwhelming so far. I think they get him involved. Drake London looks good too. So you put it all together and like, okay, I'm not going to lay any points in this case, but if I can get the Falcons as a dog against one of the worst teams, I know they're going west, but give it to me at plus 108.
Yeah, I think Drake London has something like a 50% target share so far this year. And some of that could be teams focusing on Pitts even, but I agree with you. If the coaching staff can get him more involved so that they have a couple weapons, and Cordero Patterson can be okay if they can really utilize those weapons better. Atlanta's looked decent, man. I mean, they've played well against 2 decent teams. So, and I just looked and I saw a plus 111 at Barstool too. So I'm going to give you plus 111
is nice. Yeah, look, I mean, they're not a good team. I think that their win total in the preseason was 4.5, right? Like pretty damn low. I think Seattle was pretty damn low also. I think that the Falcons are a cut above that. Now, Seattle could try to limit Drake London. To your point, he's got like half the target share. If they kind of keep him in check, it should open up Pitts. I mean, Pitts, exactly. I think is a dynamic player in this league. I'm waiting for it to happen. I think this is the week. Don't hold me to it, but at plus money, sign me up. So that was of all the lines that I saw out there, which is another interesting point this week, that there's not a lot of big spreads. So you can get, like, if you think that some games will be close, you can pick off some plus money. Like Packers, I think, are still plus money. Didn't make it on my list. I kind of want to wait and see what happens in that game, but a lot of plus money.
There is a lot of plus money, and on some home teams too in close games. So
for sure.
All right, man. What's pick number 3 this week?
Next one, another hold your nose, a 3-pack of hold your nose. Got it last night. San Fran and Denver under 45. Under 45. So this one, again, hold your nose. It's tough to play in Denver early season. I know that. Both defenses have looked pretty damn good so far. I know that San Fran, they have this whole situation at quarterback. I think they're better off with Jimmy G, but again, they're going into the elevation. Let's just see what happens there. But again, defensively, San Fran so far, number 1 in the league, according to success rates, according to EPA. I think they're number 2. Denver, 8th best. Denver, identity crisis in terms of offense. Hackett, just kind of one of those things that I'm not sure if he, fully realizes that he is the head coach, that as a play clock is dwindling down, it's on him to make those decisions. He's kind of frozen, and I think he works that out. But until they get to that point, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm not going to back it over with this team. And I know they're at home. It'll be week 3. Russ looks a little bit, not that he's, totally washed up, but the whole let Russ cook days, I think, are behind us. I think he's more of like a number 12, 15 quarterback in this league. So we'll see if they can, schematically do some things with him. But I think that my level on Denver is down right now for those reasons. The defense will keep them in games. And I do think they ultimately get to 10 wins or so. But until they figure out what's going on offensively and really put that together, I think that this is a spot where you've got 2 good Ds, 2 very successful pass rushes. Bosa's stats last week were unbelievable. I think that can continue. We'll see if Russ can scramble around, but I think that you put it all together and it's okay, I could see this being a 21-20 type game. So again, hold your nose, but I'm certainly not going to take overs with this Denver squad right now. So under 45 I got last night.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I looked and there's actually minus 105 on that right now. So a pretty good line on under 45. Here's a comparison I was thinking about while you're talking. So if you told me which game is going to have a lower total, San Francisco and Denver, in Denver, after watching Denver struggle offensively the first 2 weeks, Hackett trying to figure out his way, we'll see if he ever can, with a good defense, San Francisco, good defense, or Green Bay going to Tampa Bay with Rodgers and Brady, even though both of those teams haven't looked explosive and maybe challenged on offense some. I mean, for me, I would say I would take San Francisco and Denver to have a lower total between those two. And that game was all the way down to 41. Now it's at 42 and we're getting 45.5 here. So I agree with you that these are 2 teams that I don't look to be incredibly explosive, especially in this matchup. So I hadn't even really looked at that line yet, but I like that one.
Yeah, it's not really a game that I was targeting, and then I was just taking a look at all the early trends and everything and just thinking high level of what we are working with. And I know that San Fran looked good offensively last week, but again, they're playing a team that I'm fading because I'm really down on Seattle. I think that Seattle sucks. I know that defensively they've given up I think it was a 450-yard spot and 400 last week. So it's okay, you put that all together, they're not going to have Trey Lance. I think they could use a Lance type game in this game with a Denver pass rush and defense that's good to just kind of, okay, you're in elevation, you're trying to knock that off, just run for some yards. And then in that case, I actually probably wouldn't take the under 45, but I'm going to take it in this case. And let's see what happens with Hackett. I think that, the jury's still out. It's only 2 weeks, right? It's 2 weeks on the job. First 2 weeks on the job, you're usually a mess. And sometimes offensive coordinators should be offensive coordinators. And they're not meant to be in that head coaching role. So let's see what happens. I think that the jury's still out. Like I said, I still think that they get to 10 wins. I still think that they're a playoff team. But in this slot, give me the under 45. And to your point, that Green Bay and Tampa Bay game, it didn't make my list, but I'm looking at that over-under. You picked it off yesterday, buy low spot at 41. It's at 42 now. It's I know that Tampa's got some things going on. I know that Green Bay hasn't looked crisp for a whole 4 quarters. 42 is low for Rodgers and Brady.
With those 2 teams, yeah. Hey, one other thing I'll just throw out there. I'm not saying people should bet this. I mean, it's something I'd have to think about more, but just putting a couple things together. So one of Yanni's picks was San Francisco -1, and you're talking about that under. You may be able to even go out and get that that combo of San Francisco to win the game and under maybe 48.5 even, buy yourself over that 48. And I'm guessing you even get plus money putting those two together. So anyway, that might be something to consider based on what you guys are saying on this one.
I totally agree. Take a look at that one. You can probably get some pretty nice odds on that. Take a look at the first half line too. I don't even know what the first half under is. I could see that being a slow start, but I do like the under.
That's a good call too.
And two very intriguing teams as we go forward. I think that both teams end up in the playoffs. Both teams, their rosters are loaded. I think San Fran maybe a little bit more, but San Fran always has those injuries too. So let's see what happens. And should be a great week of football here, man.
Sounds good to me, man. All right. Well, hey, thanks for real quick. What's your confidence level on those 3 picks? 3, 2,
totally
1.
Forgot to do that again. It's the third week.
It's fine. That's why we do it at the end.
Yeah, right. It's like, I gotta have confidence. Let's do the Falcons. I'm gonna do a 2.
Okay.
Yep. I'm not gonna say a 1 on that. I do like that bet. Chargers team total under. I'm gonna do a 2.
Okay.
And San Fran and Denver under. I do like that quite a bit. So then we'll do that as a 3.
All right. I love it.
3,
awesome,
2,
dude.
2.
Thank you. Enjoy that work
Appreciate
day.
it. Huh?
Enjoy that work day.
Oh, it's great. I'm already getting some messages. I can't wait for this work day. But the good news is that after the work day, we get to talk more football, and the Wager
Exactly.
review will be happening. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, dude. I appreciate it, Tasty.
I'll talk to you soon. My good friend Phil Nasons is back for week number 3 with a smile on his face, as always. Phil, how's it going?
Everything is fantastic. We got a little storm here, and it's just beautiful. I'm in the midst of writing previews for all kinds of people. Very busy guy. And I got to do this, Tasty. You see this right here? This book?
Although the background messes with it a little bit. You can only see the picture.
Anyway, this is your ticket to winning money right here. Betting Football 101. This is my strategy for beginning bettors right here. That's it right there. You don't need any more touts. You don't need anybody except you can listen to us because you can lose your money with me.
or more often make it, but we all lose money sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? Traditionally, I've started out the seasons in NFL very slowly. Last year, I was 1-9, and I got let go of a writing job because of it to start.
Wow.
And the year before, I think I was 2-8, but this year I've started out 5-8. So I feel like I'm ahead of the curve so far, which means it's going to be an interesting season, Tasty.
Means you're really going to kick butt as we get going. So
well, we hope. But you know what? With 9 home dogs this week, wow.
Hey, I gotta real quick before we jump into NFL, I gotta shout you out for something. So Phil writes a bunch of stuff for covers and a bunch of other people too, but your write-up on Wyoming and Air Force was money last week, man.
Thank you.
And what I love about the write-up too, this is the kind of stuff I appreciate. It's one thing to throw picks out there, but when you read somebody like Bet Crushers are this way too, where you read it and you're like, oh, they know what the hell they're talking about. And that's what I love about your college football write-up was like, oh, he knows what the hell he's talking about on this. And you were spot on with that game. So anyway,
I appreciate it because I sure
missed the Colts.
I missed the Colts 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, so did I, man. So did I.
I don't want any more Colts games this year.
You're taking them this week, aren't you?
Not on this podcast. No.
Okay.
I've decided that the Indiana Colts or Indianapolis Colts are dead to me.
That I mean, it's hard to blame you. Tying the Texans and getting shut out by Jacksonville is not much of a way to start a season. So,
but that also is part of the overreaction that we as fans too always get ourselves caught up in. I think Indianapolis is actually going to be okay, but they're dead to me the rest of the year. Good luck though, Matt Ryan. Come on. Good luck, boys. Good luck. Good luck.
Matt Ryan, appreciate it.
You're going to do it without the flash.
Well, they'll do what they can, I guess. So,
hey man,
let's jump into these picks for this week. What do you got going on first?
Dallas Cowboys Moneyline, baby. I'm not buying the Giants.
What do you like there this week?
I just don't buy. I just honestly don't buy the Giants.
Okay.
I don't buy any of it, to be honest. I don't buy Saquon Barkley. I don't buy what's that kid's name again? The quarterback over there.
Oh, Daniel Jones. Oh
Oh,
no,
that
not
kid.
Cooper Rush. Sorry, I was getting the wrong side of it. Cooper
No,
Rush.
I'm buying into Cooper Rush. I buy into the Dallas Cowboys because Micah Parsons is going to destroy the Giants. That's my guy. I love that kid. What an energetic athlete. Great kid off the field. Super kid. But I'm totally buying Dallas. I think that what they're going to do is do what they did last week. And let's go back to Dallas Cowboy football. Run behind that offensive line, throw when you have to, make the big throw when you have to, and win football games with tough defense. And Dan Quinn, that defense plays good. And I think this Cooper Rush is a nice play selling, bro. Just not buying it. Not even a little
All
bit.
right. I think the over under is reflecting what you're saying about getting back to the running game and kind of and trying to play good defense. That over under is at 39.5. So that's pointing toward a lower scoring game, which is kind of what you're talking about as well. So
Yeah, but I'm going to take them as my underdog money line play. Out of
love it.
all those dogs, I took the road dog.
Yeah, we actually, as I've been recording with other people, and we'll see it all come together. There's a number of road teams that people are liking this week. So, yeah. So right now you can get them at plus 120 while we're recording this. Always try to call those out because I know it can change by the time some people listen, but that's where they're at the moment.
Well, that juice
So
is important. I'm disappointed that a lot of people don't put up the juice next to their picks.
yeah, right.
Because then you don't know what they're paying.
Yeah,
And
right. You take a pick like minus 240 or something, right? It's like,
and
well, yeah, that's
and then they're taking 3-unit victory laps on a
right.
3-1 day.
Yeah,
When they're paying minus 140, minus 150. More importantly, minus 110. You need 52.4% to break
that's
even.
right.
So let's
Yep.
push that number up. Now you're looking at minus 120, 125. It's almost impossible to beat that line. So I appreciate seeing that juice because I don't care if it's plus 4, but if it's more than minus 110, the flash don't pay for that.
Yeah, yeah. It does get hard to be a winner if you're taking many bets with more juice. So
Unless you're
for
the
this one, we're
bookie.
going the other way, plus
Unless you're
120.
taking the bets, bro. Unless you're taking the
Yeah,
bets.
well, right. That's true. If you flip to the other side, you could make some money that way for
At the end
sure.
of the day, if you can't make money on 11 to 10,
Yeah,
then you shouldn't be a bookmaker.
that
Now they
that
want to charge us $1.20, $1.30. Okay.
yeah. Especially on those player props, get minus 115 or 20 on each side. That's good for the
Those,
book. So
I was always taught with props to always take the plus money.
yeah, it's not a bad strategy.
Never lay any juice on a prop bet because anything
Yeah.
can happen. You're better off taking the dog. My second pick is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, -2.
All right.
I ain't buying the Packers either. We mentioned this earlier. I think episode 1 of this run we're on here. And one of the things I said that day was that Aaron Rodgers and those psychedelic experiences, God bless him, really. But I hope while he had one of those that he found wings, sprouted wings, because not only does he have to throw the ball, but he has to catch it too. And he's going to catch a lot of flack against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Sunday, boy. I tell you, Tom Brady is a GOAT, okay? He is one of the greatest of all time, probably the greatest of all time. You think he wants to lose to a guy like Aaron Rodgers?
I don't think Tom Brady ever wants to lose, man. That guy's pretty competitive.
Well, anybody whose name is mentioned alongside his or close to his, you think he's going to want to lose to
Right,
that guy?
fair. Yeah.
There's not a way in the world that that's going to happen. So, and we can. I tease him a lot. I playfully tease Tom Brady about the girl, about his wife and stuff. I feel sorry for him. He's had a tough time there, but
Yes.
it's tough. But at the end of the day, that defense in Tampa Bay is tough. And if Tampa Bay can't cover a 2-point spread at home against Green Bay, who really doesn't look that good, I mean, something might be wrong there too. And I don't think that's the case. I think they got started off slow. I think part of the problem is that Brady didn't really play in the preseason. Fournette was working his way back into shape. I think Mike Evans is out for this game.
Yeah,
But he does
suspended.
have Godwin. I think Godwin's going to play.
Maybe. I mean, Godwin's injured, so he's questionable for Sunday. And Julio Jones is questionable as well. So that's, I think, the concern for the Bucs is that wide receiving core. Although I heard someone talking this week about Brady and how he, for most of his career, has just taken whoever he's got and kind of dinked and dunked them to wins, even when he doesn't have any name value at receiver. So,
and they signed Cole Beasley this week, so
I saw that. I think that could be big.
There's a guy he's going to get along real well with Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
Plus, he's a great route runner. He catches the ball nice. When he was in Dallas, he was Dak Prescott's guy. There are many who believe now that when he left, that messed everything up in Dallas. And, he's never had that success since. But with Brady, and I would think that Julio Jones is probably going to play. You see that nice catch he made last Sunday? That's the kind of thing Julio Jones has missed the last couple of years. So, and plus, at the end of the day, again, Green Bay is Green Bay. I know Aaron Rodgers. I might be tongue in cheek when I tease him a little bit. He's still fantastic, but he's got nothing. There's nothing there. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially at home, they play defense. And I think that they're just going to get slapped. And 2 points isn't enough. I don't care how many bad receivers Tom Brady has. They'll find the end zone a couple times. You can count on that.
And not only that, but I just checked BetStamp for the most recent line, and there's 1.5 minus 110 right now. So,
there you go. You see how we're progressing nicely today already.
That's right. So awesome. Well, what's pick number 3 for you this week, Phil?
I hope you Jets fans ain't listening. I've been a Jets fan for 53 years. I was going to wear my Jets hat today, but it's hard to wear the Jets hat. That would have been deceptive. I'm taking the Bengals minus 4.5 against the hapless New York Jets.
Even after that huge comeback.
Stop. I'm so tired of all these comebacks. You're talking about the Dolphins too. Those are garbage time comebacks. You know what happened is those teams sat back in a zone and were trying to play prevent. Okay, whatever. Let them play man-to-man like they were the first 3 quarters. And let's see how the New York Jets fare with Joe Flacco. I don't think it'd be the same thing. And the Bengals, they're 0-2. People are talking smack about 0-2 Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is not a guy you talk smack about. He's probably one of the most confident players in the NFL. They're all confident, or they have to be. Overconfident sometimes, but confident. And Burrow, he's got a whip. And I'll tell you what, if Jacoby Brissett can hurt that team, what do you think Burrow and Chase are going to do?
That's a fair point.
This is a thumping time. And Joe Mixon, this is how it's going to go. I'll give you a covers piece verbally today.
Nice. I love it. Let's do it.
Bottom line, Joe Mixon's going to start this game off. They're going to run the ball and box them in a little bit and then open things up for Chase. And I believe Higgins is playing again this week, right?
I think he's supposed to be, yep.
Yeah, it's the other kid that's out, right? But at the end of the day, they're just going to run right down the Jets' throat. Big offensive plays. And the folks in New Jersey, because New York doesn't actually have a stadium in New York, so we really should call them the Jersey Jets.
Love it, man. Yeah, we'll see how the Cincinnati offensive line can come together, but if they can't, I mean, people are jumping off the Bengals already, and it's been a rough first 2 weeks. Don't get me wrong. It looks pretty bad, but it's still early, right? And we know what they can be. We know the weapons they have. So
15 games left.
Yeah, exactly.
15 games. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Absolutely.
What was off the top of your head? Do you know who had the most wins last year? Was it 13-3?
I'd have to go look. That sounds right to me. You talk, I'll look it up.
So bottom line is, at the end of the day, there's so many games left to play. I mean, let's not hang some of these teams. Now, the Jets are lousy. They really are. The Browns, I'll bet you they were on suicide watch Sunday night after that game because they really, really kicked themselves in the pants, shot themselves in the foot a couple of times. They shot themselves in the foot defensively so many times they ran out of feet to shoot, and the Jets beat them. And that's just how that worked out. I watched the entire game with one eye open, of course, because Sunday is really my day off. But at the end of the day, this Bengals, I'm not worried about the Bengals.
Yeah.
I don't really care if they win or not anyway, but they're going to cover this one and they're going to win. And from there on out, we'll see. But the Jets, that's another team that I ain't buying alongside the Giants. I ain't buying either one of them.
No New York for you this year.
No.
And hey, you were right. So the Packers and the Bucks were 13-4 last year, and then there were a few other teams that were 12-5.
Right. So if the Bengals win 11 games this year,
right,
which is entirely possible,
especially in the AFC North. I mean, the Ravens have been okay, but their defense is so injured again. The Browns and the Steelers, I still think are just not very good teams, maybe mediocre. So yeah, I'm with you. They don't have to blow people away to be competitive in that division.
I have that Ravens game for covers coming up on Friday.
Everybody watch for that.
And my college game, but my college one, I'm sorry, Tasty, says you open the door with the covers thing. So
absolutely, people should be reading it.
On Thursday, you'll see the Texas Tech preview.
Okay. I love it. I watch for all of them, man. So if you're not already, go follow Cash with Flash on Twitter. That is an easy way. Also, can you just search covers by your name for your stuff? Do you know?
I'm not sure if you can.
Or do you tweet out all of the cover stuff you do?
Yes, I do. Yeah. That's the only site that I tweet.
So that's the easy way. Just make sure you follow at Cash with Flash. Turn on those notifications, and then you'll see all those covers articles come through.
Yeah, I also have it on my other Twitter, which I use just for writing purposes, and that's Nathan's Phil. So that's my name over there backwards. Nathan's Phil.
Got it. If you're on the podcast, that's NAESSENS and then Phil, PHIL.
Yes. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. What a great time.
Absolutely, man. I want people to be checking it out. So, well, hey, Phil, thanks for jumping in for week 3. Hopefully we can run the table this week and get up to or over 500 for the year and just up from there.
I need to be better than 1-5.
Hey, we all do, but I mean, you're the one who's taught me if you can't ride out a 1-5 week here and there, then you shouldn't be betting in the first place, because it's going to happen.
If you can't ride out a 0-20 week,
that's right.
You're doing it wrong.
That's right.
End of the day, bankroll management, all those things are covered in my book. And I hope if you get a chance, pick it up. And if not, just follow me on Twitter. Pretty much the same thing.
All right, man. Well, it's great to talk to you as always. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Good luck, everybody out there. It's nice to see you again.
All right, we've come to the last leg of this best bets capping relay, and that's my picks for the week. There's actually quite a bit on the board that I like pretty well, so it took me some time to narrow this down. Hopefully I went with the right ones and don't give out the ones that lose here, but that's what the game is. So my picks, my first one up, I'm going with the Rams -3.5, and when I'm recording this, you can get that at -106. I just think that the Cardinals are really bad. They should have lost that game last week. It was really Kyler running around trying to make things up that got them the tie, and then ultimately 2 fumbles in a row from the Raiders to get that scoop and score, not pick six, but a fumble run back for 6 points to win in overtime for the Cardinals. They really, I mean, you could say this all the time, but they should have lost that game. They didn't dominate that game. The Raiders threw it away. And I don't know that the Raiders are a phenomenal team either. I think the Cardinals defense is bad this year. I think we're going to continue to see that play out across the course of the season. The Cardinals without DeAndre Hopkins are not very good on offense either. They basically have Kyler, and that's about it. James Conner is going to be banged up for this game. Even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. So there's a lot that I like there that points in the direction of the Rams. I was trying to find a couple of my other notes. I know I have most of this memorized, but on the Rams, I will say too, I think it's 7 out of the last 8 against the Cardinals, the Rams have won, and 7 in a row in Arizona. So this is just a team. Obviously, the teams change over time, but I think that this is a game where the Rams have their number. I also think that the Rams are better than what they've shown so far. Everybody's ready to jump off the Rams coming off the Super Bowl last year and looking, maybe a little bit lackluster in the first 2 weeks. But I think the Rams are still a really good team. And if they don't get injured too much, I think they end up being in contention for the playoffs and even to make a run again. I think we're overreacting a little bit to what we've seen in the first 2 weeks with this team. And I think this line could even be wider than 3.5. Obviously, I'd always like to get the -3 as opposed to 3.5, but I think this is a touchdown or better win for the Rams. So at -3, -106, I'll take it. My second pick, you heard me, if you listen to the whole stream here or podcast, you heard me mention this game already, Green Bay and Tampa Bay. I got it at over 41. This dropped down from 48 or 48.5. Right now it sits at 42 -105. I'll take over 42 -105. I think that's still a good look. These are two teams who, again, people are pretty low on their offenses right now. Obviously, Tampa Bay has a ton of injuries, including on the offensive line, and that absolutely is a concern. But Green Bay's defense hasn't exactly been destroying people so far. Metrically, they don't look phenomenal. Tampa Bay has a pretty decent defense, but I think Aaron Rodgers is capable of spreading the ball around to these different receivers. It was only Chicago that they played in week 2, so we got to take it with a grain of salt. But Aaron Rodgers has proved that he can get an offense going most of the time, even if they don't have a bunch of big stars. And they do have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, who both metrically look really good, and I think those two can carry the load to some extent. I think Fournette may run too, so if this is a running game, obviously that could lead toward it being a little bit lower scoring. But I think both teams might be able to gash the other one on the ground. And with a total this low at 42, I mean, I think either of these teams is capable of putting up, 14 points in a quarter. And so both of them having to get to the low to mid 20s, I just don't feel too bad about that. So my second pick is Green Bay and Tampa Bay over 42 -105. And then for my plus money pick, there's a few spots that I like okay here. A number of them have already been named on the show, but I am going to go with Atlanta at plus 111 to get the win up in Seattle. I won't spend too much time on this. D did a good job breaking this down. This was his plus money pick as well, so we're on the same side for this one. But at a basic level, I'll just say Atlanta has looked good. Their metrics have been relatively solid. And the Seattle, I think, is a absolutely basement team in the NFL this year. I think they got amped up and played one good game against a Denver Broncos team that has proven that they are, well, they might be good in the long run. They're not right now, especially offensively. I think that's why they were able to do what they did in that first game against Denver. I think Atlanta comes in here and picks up their first win on the season, is able to close out a bad Seattle team. So I will take Atlanta at plus 111. In terms of confidence on these picks, I'm going to go 3 for the Rams at -3.5. I'm going to go 2 for Green Bay and Tampa Bay. And I'm going to go 2 for the plus money pick this week with Atlanta. So 3, 2, and 2 for the confidence for me. That'll wrap it up for the Best Bets Show week 3. Hopefully you're able to pick out the spots to tail and the ones to fade, but a lot of good information and a lot of good picks on the show. Again, would appreciate a like, a comment, a review. Any of those things are greatly appreciated. Enjoy your week of NFL betting, and we will see you back here next week, hopefully with a little bit more green in our pockets. Best of luck, everybody.